Seems like he's outside, and he's alone. I kind of mentioned. So this is what this is telling me, all right? And when I see 3 and 1, that is not positive. It gives a number that's not, that could mean final, kind of chapters. So, to me, this is saying he's alone and he's most likely outside. I just want to go into the tarot here. Okay, so Spirit is, I'm telling you what I've got because I know some of you are new subscribers or not, or just Spirit is, I'm telling you what I've got because I know some of you are new subscribers or not, or just returning to view for this content. But if you're a subscriber and you're watching this, you know how I read. So I'm getting told to pull the 15th card here. So let's look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah. This is why I was saying in the first read, the energy will shift, and I might stand alone because a lot of people are saying about psychics they've seen the readings. I haven't, but I knew the energy was shifting. And we were getting these cards after I did the first row in the first read, and then I moved on. I said the energy is shifting, but it's vital. And channel. So you can see significant messages here. All right. Okay. So we will put this back, and we know that maybe that Spirit saying that's all you need to know for your energy check-in. And for me, it does tell me everything that, unfortunately, I kind of mentioned. But let's see. All right. So we all love a little bit of drama, apparently. So I hope everyone's blessed and well. A number 15 comes to mind, so this could be significant in some way coming up, right? It could be something that's highlighted to us. It could be he's found on the 15th day. There's something about 15, 1 and 5. I still think there's something about his phone, and it's going to come to light. And I was saying, hi everyone, I hope you're all well. You might have seen a community post that I scheduled prior to commencing this reading, and you will see that I started to do the part of the reading that I'm going to do yesterday, and the second part, if we've got time to fit it in this reading, I will do, or otherwise I'll separate them. The part that I did yesterday was actually looking at dates from the 17th until the 23rd, which I felt was really potent. And I did take a picture here also because it's on the camera that's recording, but a screenshot that I shared, I've kept it on my phone. It's on the community post, so I will be taking a look at it. But I also want to pull some cards and then juggle the message. The second part of the reading I felt needed to be done at a certain time and when I felt the energy was right for me to do so. And I think the energy is right today if I do it today, and if not, then I have to see about tomorrow. It just wasn't the days prior. Now, if you've caught some of the readings or all of the parts, you'll see that we've covered different things. And for example, I said from when we did the check-in on the Spanish police, I said they just believe they're looking, it was an accident, and they're looking for an unalive body. Basically, the main thing I said, they're looking for someone who's not alive. And I know that rumors, or, you know, through my subscribers, that at some stage they were saying Jay is alive and they're looking for him. But I always believed from my reading that the Spanish were looking for someone who's not alive. The problem with this story is that there's so much, and I mentioned Riley Strain right from the beginning, first read, I mentioned so much is going to be compared to a Riley Strain story. And I think you would have seen over time, some people have probably mentioned Riley Strain. So probably another validation from my readings. Even Peter, the ex-Met officer, Peter Bexley, is it? And Mark Williams. And I mentioned Peter in one of my readings, and people, you know, someone was like, he's only saying this. But since Jay's been found, he's like, well, you know, it's an accident and everyone just needs to calm down. But that won't happen because of the online sleuths and the trolls. But actually, in fact, it was Peter who said, remember, disclaimer, this is all my opinion. It's not based on, use your own discernment and fact finding. It's allegedly my opinion, and full disclaimers always in the description box. Think MURDER unless proven otherwise. And he was also slating the Spanish police that they've not looked into the case from the beginning. They have to go back to day one because it's not adding up. But now he seems to say an accident, but will that be enough to quieten the online sleuths? So, I mean, even as a Met detective to do that, I don't know how you can do it and feel like you will still have credibility. But then I've also noticed a lot of people don't pay attention and just roll and follow sheep. And then we've got Mark Williams, who brought forward the whole sort of the Rolex watch, etc. So we know, I mean, we know that Jay went, in the community post and the poll, some people don't believe Jay turned up at the B&B, so I don't know what they think he was doing in Masca. But Jay went to that Airbnb either because he had the fallout with the friends and he couldn't get back to his hotel. But I think it's more or less he wanted the party to continue. These guys said they had some stash or something. He had brainwave ideas. And that's it. So I do believe he turned up at the B&B. I haven't asked that question, Tara, and I just feel that I don't need to ask the question. I just feel he did. I don't know about this 11% that think he never even went to the Airbnb. Most people feel like there's an additional story to an accident. In the reading I did yesterday, it was very clear to see here on the 17th, absolutely no way did Jay pass on the 17th. We had the, I'm going to pull it up now. Hang on a sec. We had the Chariot the Fool at first. And that to me tells me he did make his way to the Airbnb. He was in a car. He took a wrong turn on that day. I also believe that that was the day, and possibly the 18th, where he was picked up by who he was held by. Okay, so that was the 17th. All right. The reason why this is so difficult to for me to channel is because when I was shuffling the cards, Spirit says, like, for example, stop, and it was the Nine of Pentacles. And the Nine of Pentacles was telling me this case is far from over. Not far from over, but basically it's not a closed case exactly of what happened. And then the Nine of Pentacles came out for the 23rd as well, that there's still a missing piece to what everyone is thinking. And on the 18th, which was the second row, we had the Nine of Swords, the Tower, and the Queen of Swords. And this is where he came into contact with these people. Now, if he didn't, and I'll go back to that in a moment, Then on the 21st had a reoccurring of how much it was important to get the reward out. We had the King of Cups, we had the Lovers, we had the Ace of Pentacles. And when I pulled more cards, we had another Ace of Pentacles. We had the Page of Pentacles, which is a picture of the page delivering to a dwarf. Here you can see it. A pentacle. And it also showed us that what I was channeling is that they're just sat waiting, holding on when they should have acted. When I pulled a further card, I got the Eight of Swords. Jay was held and there was a reward wanted at this time. I also mentioned, I wonder if it was around the 21st, 22nd that the dad flew out, or even some communication came to the mother from the 21st up until maybe the 24th, 25th about you're not going to see your son, or, you know, some maybe it looked like a scam for money. Then we went on from the, this was the 17th, 18th, this was 21st, 23rd. 23rd, we had the Six of Cups, we had the Four of Wands. I can't see the card underneath, and we had that Nine of Pentacles where I said something's missing. I'm going to show you the Nine of Pentacles in this in a moment. And they could have swam across into, they could have, the change of destiny of the story could have happened. Obviously, we know that there's always a destiny. We also then had the Four of Swords, and there was something about two that I was getting. They could have been 2 steps ahead had they have taken action, but they didn't take action when needed. Then I asked for a further clarifier, just so that you, Four of Swords obviously marked he had left that home, and it's the same day that he might have perished. And I mentioned around the 22nd and in the 23rd, where I believe he is, where he passed. Now, to give additional cards for the further days, going back to the 17th, we had the Knight of Swords. The Knight of Swords here was the same Knight of Swords that comes out on the 18th, which tells me it's the same people that were involved. I think he was chased, to be honest with you, and then he was taken. Definitely by the 21st, he was held and a reward was wanted. All right, he'd been held, he'd been chased from the 17th. And I think as he was taking rash decisions, thinking hastily, rushing towards the wrong way, this is where a car comes along, picks him up, and these are the people that take him. We see that Knight of Swords come up on the 18th as well. Someone who is older than him, but not much older. I would say, again, it's taking me back to the 2 men that I said might have seen him. Remember at the beginning where I said, while he's alive, the significance of a church is really important. The church building is very important during the time he was alive. During that time as well, I'm not channeling everything from yesterday, and I know I'm not. During that time, he might have also, I think he's robbed with the wrong people. What I mean is that someone tied to the church. Now, I don't think it's a priest. It could be, and I can't see it being a governor. It could be a mayor who's seen it. There's something there, okay? And I also mentioned in my reads, but continue to look outside, because eventually he will be found outside, but it will be hidden in a ravine type area. And I mentioned from my first read, and it could also be in the comments to either a fellow psychic or a user whose username begins with the name Sean, whether it's their real name or not. I'm saying that on purpose because I respect people's privacy. Because they both have, you know, added comments, and I know that I've added comments back. I never saw vultures, I never saw eagles, I always saw flies, which tells me that it probably was, and when I think back, it was inaccessible, exactly how I actually said. because it would be flies as his body deteriorates. He was always protecting his face. He had a large gouge, Larsen on like his nose. That was very significant. I could see him hiding his face, if you remember in my readings. When I think back, that's why there was flies, and he was quite hidden. Now, one of the problems with what's come out is that he was found, but he was found his clothes and bag nearby. But are they saying he was found and with his clothes and bags? Do they mean his clothes on? That's not been clarified. Again, in Riley Strain's case, his trousers were apparently not on him, which caused a bit of a bafflement, and his shoes were not on him as well. What I can tell you, if it wasn't the 23rd, the other date, there's one other date where there was a tower, and I always mentioned that his health depletes on certain dates, and the 22nd it was depleting, he was nearly going, and the 23rd he did, because they did not keep him in a good state. Obviously he would be too strong. I've always mentioned the phone. I've always mentioned there's going to be things coming out about the pinging of the phone, his last location, more communication. As I've mentioned that we've seen exactly, I remember doing a reading, and a day later there was something about the pinging of his phone, the GPS, more texts, something about Lucy, and then Brad came out. So everything that I've mentioned on the phone has been very significant. And right now, I've not heard anything about the phone being located, which is something else. What I do want to say is I don't believe that this was, I do believe his unaliving was an accident. Whatever happened, either, you know, he was in an area he could not get out of, he fell, yes. Did it happen on the 17th? No. Is there an interim story? Yes, I still stand by my story. And I know it sounds very strange and crazy, but I do believe that this is what's happened, and I can't go against it. And the cards showed me this, where the Four of Swords came out. And to be honest, all my predictions have been correct. You would have seen the first few minutes that I put in. This was part 3, where from the 24th of June, you would have seen that I predicted his body would be found on the 15th of July. I actually marked that on my calendar because it's very easy to mark. I don't have to make notes. Otherwise, if I make notes, I'll be there all day on the validations. And so I just rely on people who, you know, we always forget what we've seen, but if someone new comes along and sees like part 2 now, they'll pick up on, well, this was right because we know this. And that's why I always say follow the parts, and also if you want to rewatch them. I've always mentioned that Jay made wrong decisions that evening that led to this ultimately. So I would not be surprised if he did steal something, or whether it was a watch or something else. And I also questioned the GoFundMe, you know, which I'm going to come to because that's the sensitive part here. I mentioned that from where he was, you would see as if the sea was in front, as if he was heading to the sea. That is going to be something that comes out. And if you remember, we had the Knight of Cups and the Page of Cups. And like I said, he was hidden. The accessibility was very difficult. I also mentioned in my last part, it's barely coming up to a month. If people are saying to move on because that was the energy, to look somewhere else because it's impossible now to find him, that's inaccurate. And they could still continue looking in that area and find him, because it's not too long not to find him, okay? And that seems to have come through, isn't it? Now, although Ayub is dodgy, I don't think Ayub has unalived Jay, right? I don't think he's done that. And that's what I was saying in the readings. The dodgy and the one after, where I said, I think it's the latest I mentioned, you can be like a mule or in that, have a crime in that area, but it doesn't mean that you would go to the extent of unaliving someone. And I don't think he did unalive someone. But on the 17th and 18th, he was in very hasty, and possibly someone had come towards him, what I've mentioned in my readings. I've always said that interim story from day one, my first ever reading on the 22nd, I believe, or 23rd, 22nd, because I think 21st I put the post up, or the night, or the 20th, I can't remember, it's on the community page. So I think it might have been the 21st or 22nd. I said that this story, you will never know the middle part. It's going to be very hard to see the middle part. I never believed in the boat story, and I find it very funny that mainstream media are saying about slating the online trolls, but I think it was mainstream media that brought up this boat story, and a lot of people did believe it because I saw it in my comments. I never bought into it, but I respected what people believed in. Try and see what else I can remember here. In that read, it was very evident that the 21st, you know, was a good day to put out a reward, so someone would come forward. Before it got to the 22nd, where I believe he was then let go of, he lasted the night into the 23rd, but he then unalived. There was also the thing about afraid to go back to B&B. That was from Mark Williams, not the online trolls, and the Rolex. And still there's no 100% of what that exactly was, you know. I also mentioned in my first read, there's something about his phone, and I continue to mention his phone. I even said there's something about trying to charge his phone, or someone took his phone, or there's something where he stopped to try and charge his phone. And that came out later, didn't it? It was like he wanted to charge his phone at the Airbnb, but then it was in the friend's room or something, and maybe he went into that room and that's where he stole something from there. But I also think there was something where he might have stolen something from someone who is was there that night prior to getting to the Airbnb, and it wasn't the right thing to do. These things might come out, but I don't think it's going to be helpful for them to come out right now. As much as I said have sympathy for the family, this second part of the reading that I'll do is going to touch base on that, because if you notice my community post, I said it will be for Jay and Jay only, because there's going to be exploitation of this money, and 36,000 was taken out. Yes, they did hire the Netherlands team, but they never got there, so you know it's not going to cost that much for that team, and they never got there, so they probably need to pay them a little amount, and I presume people are still donating. I mean, since my last read it was at 50. I'm going to check on this because I want to see the validation of this reading. Now, so what I want to do is I want to pull some cards, and then I want to go into something else. I might plan to do a live testing, and on that we can check in maybe on the parents or the next read, but at least you can share your views with other people. So see, the cards are here, look. There's the cards. This was the 23rd. That's the 9 of Pentacles, where I said the case is not closed. There's missing story here. The 10 of Pentacles, the 6 of Swords, one more. Yeah, the 4 of Swords. That was the 23rd. This was the 21st, where I said very important that was there. The Pentacles, and the Pentacles kept coming out. The Tower there for the Queen of Swords. The Knight of Swords. This was in reverse here, if you remember. So anyone who wants to sit and say that it's not true, The Emperor, these ones were not these ones were left. The other cards were here. It was from this card deck. So you can see, if I knew, I would have got them out from the beginning. You can definitely see that if he fell on the 17th and came to his unaliving, why would this energy be here? You know, this energy would be here. And when I pulled up an additional card, we got the Knight of Swords here, which is the same energy that he met with here. I also keep visioning him on that bench near the church, and that's where he asks for a phone charger. Just get a sip of water to make sure we're still recording. Yes. You know, people, I mean, especially in foreign places, you do need to look out for each other. And so in my last read, I mentioned about the sentence I got channeled, and it was a channeled message from Jay, where he says, I am bound. And then I read that it wasn't, I'm not reliable. And then I was like, no, liable. And then he was like, well, I'm not reliable, but in this, I mean, I'm not liable for what happened to me. And I said that in the last one. I said channeled message to be sensitive, but that was a sentence from Jay. If I wanted to make that up, I would have made it up in a way that's a lot easier to understand. And I want to hear in the comments what you think that means. I am bound, but I'm not liable for what happened to me. So to me, it says, I'm bound to something because he did something, but he's not liable for what we find, for how he's for what happened to him. That to me says there's something in between. What do you think? Please let me know in the comments. What would you understand from that? The additional of I'm not reliable is just him being that 19-year-old that we know so far from the story that he is. But I am bound, but I'm not liable for what happened to me. And from part 1 onwards, I knew by part 2 going into 3 that I could connect with Jay, but I had to be very sensitive about that. And part 3 is just clarifying where I felt like the energy was moving after part 1's read, where I said it wasn't looking good, etc. So give me a moment. I only want 2 cards, but the Knight of Swords come out. To me, yes, the 17th, he took something that was not his, he shouldn't, and he was in this naive energy, all right? I want to say he met faith here. He met fate here. This is that Knight of Swords person that I mentioned. I think in one of my readings, when I mentioned he was at the church, there was a Knight of Swords energy. Can you remember from my second read, the 19th? Here I'm asking 19th going into 20th. sorry, the 18th in my last read, we had the Queen of Swords. A lot of mental anguish there was. We've got it here. We've got someone who is a bit immature. There's some messaging that goes on, and there's some harsh communication here with someone who is kind of cold, all right? There's a defensive mode here, so this is where I believe the taken energy is. And in the last read, I was going to say, if his fate wasn't around the 23rd, I didn't pull after the 23rd, 18, his health was not in a good condition. So this is the 17th, this is the 19th going into 20th, mainly 20. Let's look at round the, so 17, 19 into the 20th. We're going to look at 20 into 21st. Reverse as well, King of Wands and the Chariot. The Chariot is something didn't go in the right direction on the 21st, and I believe this is to do with the reward. When I look at the cards that I got previously, told to look at the bottom of the deck, the risk that was taken around this did not go in the right direction, and there was a stuck energy. When we have the King of Wands here as well, that is a very strong, the King of Wands is a very strong person. You know, they're quite, in reverse though, it's can be impatience and being too assertive. Emotions aren't grounded, you know. There could be a little bit of abuse. I don't mean physical abuse, but, you know, it's not someone in a balanced state. So what did we say? We said the 17th, and we said the 19th, 20th. This is the 21st. A risk was taken on the 21st. It started to get risky. 1 second while I ask the question. Can you see how the cards have... I'm not sure if this is in reverse because I had to pick it up from the ground. We have here the Magician, the Queen of Wands, and the Ace of Wands. That new beginning that was hoped for did not occur, but at the same time, around the 22nd going into the 23rd, because here we've got the 17th, we've got the 20th as a landmark, here 21st and 23rd, but it's overlapping, obviously. Something didn't go to plan. We've got a King of Wands who's a bit angry, and there's a lot of different energy in this story. So sometimes there's the Knight, sometimes there's the Queen of Pentacles that was coming up in my first read. We've got the Queen of Wands here, and we've got the Magician. The Magician can be the wiping out, right? When I see this, this is the wiping out card, the 23rd. Let's get a clarifier for each one. There's something else I wanted to cover in this read. So while I'm trying to think of this, I'm actually thinking of, I was just told to look at the bottom of the deck for the 23rd. Tower. Magician with the Tower for me says it confirms the 23rd, right? In my first read, I was thinking if it's not the 23rd, now if I pull cards after this, it could mean, it could show me that he wasn't, it could show me the death card for the 26th. That could be that he was already passed, okay? I'm just trying to look at that first week to tie in with my readings, and you can see what I'm saying. Spirit could have brought the Magician and the Tower at the 17th, and that's why I say 100%, 101%, he did not die on the 17th. His energy wilted from the first read on the 18th, but from just psychically, the 22nd, he was in not a good state at all. Like, if he was rescued on the 22nd, and I'm getting something like 2 a.m. on the 23rd, he would have been in a situation, do you know when someone is going into, bodies going into shutdown? He would have been that sort of way, so it would be trying to bring him back before it totally shuts down. Split the deck, the Hermit. Again, bringing us to, it all begins with his decisions that evening. So the other part, I know what I want to do, but there's something else that I'm not saying that I wanted to say for this part. I don't know what it is. And these are too much. I didn't even ask the question. But Spirit is telling me to take the card on the floor for this pile. Seven of Cups, overwhelm, confusion, not focused. This is probably also Jay, where he's high on whatever he was taken. All right, he is high on whatever he's taken. Knight of Pentacles. Again, this is the age of around, I would say, 25 to 32, something like that, or 35, probably a bit younger, right? Six of Wands here. I think this is saying there could have been a victory if you played with the devil, all right? Because I'm tying it in with what I believe was the reward, all right? And there was playing with the devil, because we can say the devil was also the GRUGs. Remember, I mentioned in my last read that as well as going out for a holiday, that they felt they could actually go out and maybe make a book or two through some of this stuff, all right? And we never know, maybe he went to the Airbnb to get some of that stuff so that they could sell it or stuff like that. Card fallen. Queen of Pentacles. I feel like this is the mother on the 23rd. She's still holding on to the money. So by the 23rd, nothing was done, but they exceeded whatever amount they put out first. So I can't remember, did they put a certain figure? I think there was 5,000 and they moved it to 30,000. And within 3 days, there was that 30,000 had hit the amount. Yeah. So now what I want to do is I want to just discuss something. So we will take a moment of silence for Jay, all right? And this is because there's going to be exploitation from his loved ones. Okay. I've always said watch the GoFundMe, but I feel like there's going to be exploitation. Now, some people are in, I don't know, a different land, and they're probably going to still continue to fund the GoFundMe. But, you know, if you look at repatriation from Spain to England, it costs around 4,000 or 3,500 for a funeral, okay? Northern England's cheaper than Southern England. You're probably looking at around, what, 3,000 for a funeral, and that would be a nice funeral. Let's say up to 4,000 if you want to make it lavish, all right? In the Northern England, I think in the South, it's probably 3,500 till about 4,800 more, up to 6,000 to make it really good. So I don't know if they're going to say now, you know, bring Jay home as the GoFundMe, and then suddenly it's going to be like, we need to get Jay, oh no, find Jay, and then it's going to be like, we need to get Jay home. So, you know, something around exploitation. And after this reading, I'm going to actually look up if I find anything, because I feel like the energy is right for me to say this without people where it's going to be coming to light. Okay. So why did I say this would be for Jay only? Because I feel there's exploitation from his loved ones that should not be occurring. And I'm really sorry to say this. Whether it's going to be, you know, an offer to do a documentary on BBC, whether it's requesting more money and then buying paying off the debts that you have for your mortgage or whatever it is, but also maybe buying a little cabin on the island. Some stuff is just going to be exploitation. There's no way that 50k, which I believe by now would have increased because heartstrings have been pulled. And you know, some of these people don't even have much money themselves. And I bet you any money that if you were to ask these people, they might have not even checked on their own family who is struggling financially, that's not said anything. So, you know, I really question some people and their mind just going, and like I said in the previous read, some people are going to be like, what on earth did I just do? I donated this much and then I donated this much. And when you come to the end of it, you're going to be like, what is happening? So be careful of playing on the heartstrings. Be careful of exploitation. And so what we're going to do right now is we're going to just ground ourselves for a moment. I also feel Jay, through him when he was let go. And the other thing I wanted to mention is they're not showing the exact spot. Like, I've tried to look for the mountain. I know it's very high up mountain area. And then they say he fell in quite a significant drop. But if you're going in the wrong way, fine, you see the sea, but then it's getting higher and higher. Surely you're going to turn back towards the roadway, where the land is not getting steeper and steeper. You're not that much of a twat. So to me, it's, unless, which I go back to, he was let go of and he stumbled. Remember, I saw him stumbling away where he didn't feel he could turn back. Other than that, there's no way someone in any 1% of their mind would keep going up mountainside hill. And by this time, he, you know, obviously he wouldn't have been in a good condition, but his adrenaline would have kicked in to wake him up. Have you ever seen where people, for example, people, maybe teens that have been drinking or something, they come home and they think you're the father or the mum's in bed, but suddenly they see the father who's really strict and the like, suddenly they're snapped out of it, or the police cops stops you and suddenly you're able to try and snap out of it, but perhaps prior you were dozing off. It's that kind of wake up that you're able to. So let's just ground ourselves. You can open your eyes. You can keep your eyes closed. I'm going to ask us to take 3 deep breaths. So inhale through the nose. And exhale. One more time, inhale through the nose and pause. And exhale. Now the last one at your own pace. Inhale and exhale at your own pace. Now we're just going to take a minute to send healing to Jay because of what I mentioned. Any trauma he's faced, but also any further, all the cords that have been tied to him in this story, as well as the exploitation that I can see happening. And as I was closing my eyes and I was taking those 3 deep breaths, Jay was coming through, saying, I am bound, but I'm not liable for what happened. That sentence again. So through this pausing at the moment, it's to make sure that any exploitation. Anything that is mentioned in Jay's name to be used for a gaining that is not linked to Jay. And I was going to say not tied, but I'm told not bound to him anymore. Relax your jaw. Relax your face muscles if they're tense. I am getting that he took a risk that he knew would be a risk. And I think this is going to the Airbnb. And I get he was abandoned by his mates, so I don't know what happened there. Maybe that's where Ayub says he didn't have a place to go. Maybe he didn't have the key or something. But I get that. Maybe Jay stated that, but there was the other reason that he went there. And that's why he didn't stay there long. And he might have seen something he didn't quite like. So I'm going to end this here. Together we've just sent some healing to Jay. And there seems to be something that wants to come channeled where I said in this part, there is something else that I want to deliver a message on, but I'm not quite getting it. So I might do, I know that I want to do a read where I ask for a message from Jay as well as a message from Spirit about this case, but I feel like it's going to be too long, and for now I feel like this was the right time for us to do that little bit of healing and some cutting. My intention, but your energy there. And let's see what happens. I'm actually going to look at the GoFundMe, see if I can see anything online about the case so far. And I hope you enjoyed this read. I'm told to split the deck. Left alone. I was told to split the deck for the 23rd. Left alone. Abandoned. A blind eye was turned. I'm going to leave that there, everyone. If you liked it, give it a like, subscribe, and I look forward to your comments. Like I said, I'm going to see if I can do a live where we can have a chat, but also where you can also, we can share views. And on that, I might do an energy check-in on loved ones. If you like that thing where I check in on how they are at the moment, what we're getting through, because I think it will be interesting with what I feel. Certain things that I feel that are not going to be, I think I've mentioned it. And it's funny, I can see in the candle a heart. I'm going to see if I can take a picture so that I can post it on the community. And it's lit and totally now. I hope I get it. It was black because it's the cord. I'm going to see if I can get it. I think I've got it, so I'll post that. It's okay, so I'm getting the healing would have reached Jay. because the candle cord usually at the top is black. It's been black, but this looks like a heart now. It's got 2 cracks in it, but it's kind of like glowing with the flame as opposed to, and the flame's moving. Can you see? Can you see it coming towards, leaning toward, now the wick is black. But can you, oh, I'm gonna have to get it when it's black. No, it's not going black for now. So I'll take a picture if it does again. Take care, it's back to being a full heart. Bye for now.